Celebrity can come from anywhere. Hi, I'm Brian Pombo. Welcome back to Brian J. Pombo Live. Now, what am I holding up here? I'm going to tell you about that in just a moment. But first, we're going to talk about a little thing called celebrity and how anybody can have it. It can be developed from anywhere. And I talk about all of that in my book, 9 Ways to Amazon Proof Your Business. You can go get a free copy at amazonproofbook.com. Number 4, it's the 4th way. It's all about being somebody. And you go check that out. Now, what does being somebody mean? I'm going to give you an example. Now, I've been following this gentleman for many years. Among other things that I have a fascination with, one of the things is all things that are directly related to Walt Disney, which I've brought up before. Not the company, but the man himself. And one of the things that was very specific to Walt Disney was a place called Disneyland, the first one in Anaheim, California. And all the people that helped put that together, because it wasn't one guy that put it together, it wasn't just Walt Disney that put it together, it was a whole string of geniuses that all got picked out and put in this place, many of them doing the things that they were doing there for the first time ever. Okay, for some reason Walt had a way of being able to pick people out of where they thought they were supposed to be and putting them in something completely different. So there was one gentleman in a very young age, his name was Bob Gurr, and he was put in charge of developing Abraham Lincoln, the robot that was there, a whole bunch of the early audio animatronics, like for the Tiki Room, and all these other things. If you haven't got to see these things before, you got to make a trip to Disneyland once they reopen. Filming this in 2020, and we're still dealing with the COVID crisis, so a lot of these things are closed down. Anaheim Disneyland is closed down. But one of the things I've done is I've followed him. He's one of those last surviving people that helped create what Disneyland is today. And he's the same age that my grandfather was, who died earlier this year. They were both born in 31. So currently he's 89. And it's one of these things where it's funny how you can see people of a similar age and how they went off and did different things with their life. My grandfather joined the family ranching and farming business, ended up splitting off and having his own ranch, cattle ranch, over the years. Bob Gurr went through all these different odd jobs and ended up working for Walt Disney and doing a whole bunch of crazy wild things in Disneyland. One of the things he ended up putting together was something called the People Mover. Doesn't even exist in Disneyland anymore. There's a newer iteration over in Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida. This is a signed copy of one of the posters. Now, this isn't an original poster, it's a reprint poster of the People Mover that they used to have at Disneyland, which was a ride I got to go on as a kid. And it was just very straightforward, and its simplicity in design had an elegance to it. Here it is, his signature right there. I got 4 of these posters. They're not currently, at the time of this recording, they're not offering these anymore, but perhaps some time in the future you'll be able to get something like this. I got a couple other ride posters, and it's just stuff that I enjoy. I'm going to put them in frames and stuff like that. But it's one of those things where I want to bring this back to celebrity. Here's a guy who was at the right place at the right time, did a whole bunch of crazy things throughout his career. But even if he only helped introduce a couple major features in Disneyland, from that point on he can be called a celebrity. He can be interviewed in documentaries, which he's done a lot of. He does his own tours of Southern California, which he calls Waltland, where he'll take a tour and he'll take you on a bus tour and show you all the sights and sounds and give you personal experiences that he had going through all these situations with Walt Disney and that whole gang. He's been able to live off of this celebrity. Even though he's done a whole lot of work. It's not that he hasn't done a lot, but even if he didn't, even if he just had a small encounter, a small impact in the development of Disneyland, he is then from that point on can make money off that celebrity. I'm not saying he's making millions right now either. But he is able to, in a sense, take that celebrity and develop it into something more that no one else has been able to do. Other people have done it through the years, but he's been doing really well at 89 years old to be able to continue selling things to mega fans like myself, who wasn't even alive at the same time Walt Disney was alive. And he can sell stuff to people like me, crazy people. And that's the power of celebrity. Now, you don't have to have done something that outrageous and cool in your life. It doesn't take much to be a celebrity. It takes something of note. It takes something that's noteworthy, remarkable. Remarkable isn't necessarily something outrageous. Remarkable means it's something that's worth a remark. It's worth talking about. It's worth a conversation. That's all you need to your name to become some form of a celebrity, to have something that's worth remarking about. So it's just a little bit of a different way of looking at celebrity. And I want you to really bend your mind and look at your own experiences. Look at the people you know and their experiences, maybe clients and customers that you have. How many of them would be considered a celebrity? How many of them could you interview and therefore kind of at least get a little bit of the shine off of the celebrity? All those things are helpful. It's one of the reasons why I host podcasts. It's not that I have a whole lot to bring to the table other than what we talk about here at Brian J. Pombo Live, but I love being able to interview the people that do have amazing things to talk about. And just by being around them, a little bit of that celebrity rubs off. And I'm not saying that I'm wanting to be a celebrity or that I want it to rub off, but it naturally does. You naturally surround yourself with people that have something remarkable about them, and you seem remarkable just in contrast. It's an interesting thing about human nature, but it's something you could use to your advantage to be able to build your business off of. Not that you necessarily go out there to try and manufacture celebrity, but celebrity is a very simple idea. It's really not that outrageous. You don't have to be a movie star. You don't have to be a professional sports star. You just need to have something noteworthy about you and be willing to talk about it. Be willing to put it out there, to write about it, to go out and communicate your experiences. Hopefully that makes sense to you. We'll be back here tomorrow night with another kind of tip, an idea, something that can help you grow your business, perhaps even a hardcore strategy or two. So in the meantime, go check out AmazonProofBook.com. Get your own free copy of 9 Ways to Amazon Proof Your Business. And we'll be back tomorrow. In the meantime, you get out there and let the magic happen.